Hey yo guys, what's up and welcome back to Two Toe Tags and Metal Reviews, and today we're getting our first impressions of Iowa from Slipknot. Alright, so yeah, I said first impressions, but this video is going to be a little different. We've heard this album many times, we're fans of this album, we're fans of this band. So this isn't going to be the traditional first impressions where we're hearing an album for the very first time. Instead, we thought it'd be cool if we just shared our memories of our first impressions the first time we did hear this album nearly 20 years ago.
To give some context as well, Slipknot was the winner of the Best Metal Band in the World tournament that we held for pretty much the latter half of last year.
Yeah.
And you guys voted on what album we're doing, and it happened to be Iowa. So
by a huge margin, by the way, they got 56% of the vote.
They destroyed that vote.
And we're not surprised because Iowa is king shit. Anyways, so yeah, going back 20 years. So I was a Slipknot fan after the self-titled album came out. Iowa it had a lot of hype behind it. People were excited. Oh my God, what, you know, the second album from this band's coming. A lot of hype, right? So I didn't have a job back then. I was like 16, 17 years old. I didn't have a job. I barely didn't have any money. I got allowance sometimes here and there, but whatever. Anyways, find out the album's coming out, and me and my buddy go to the mall to get it. And I did have money, but I either forgot it or I can't remember, but I ended up at the mall without my money. And I was so disappointed. But my buddy, who had money, and his parents were giving him money all the time, so he was like, you know, wallet full kind of guy, was nice enough to buy me a copy of the album, which I still have. And I love this album. And at that time it was cool because it was release day, and if you got on release day, you got a 6-foot tall Iowa poster, which was badass. It was hanging in my room for years. I wish I still had it because it was an awesome poster. But we brought our Discmans to the, Discmans. Oh man, yeah, okay. We brought our Discmans to the mall, and we went to the food court. We opened the albums, and he sat there with his, I sat there with mine, and we both sat there like looking at each other and nodding. Like we obviously couldn't hear each other. We're like nodding and like, oh yeah, track 3, oh yeah. And we're just, you know, having a blast. Just two freaking metalheads in the food court of this mall, just blaring this album on our headphones. And then, you know, on the way home talking about it, and just fell in love with it immediately. From that point on, it was pretty much solidified that Slipknot was my favorite band. I was buying every single magazine I could find that had a Slipknot picture in it. I bought it. My wall was covered in Slipknot stuff. I started collecting Slipknot masks. I was buying them off eBay, saving up my money. Eventually did get a job. Eventually was able to buy some masks and stuff. And yeah, this album spent a lot of time in my Discman. And when I finally graduated to an MP3 player, the album was on there as well. I spent a lot of time listening to this album. It's phenomenal. I have a lot of memories of seeing them on tour during that time. You know, just disaster pieces, all that kind of stuff, man. This album, when somebody talks about this album, it brings back a lot of really good musical memories for me. And yeah, I'm really glad we're reviewing it.
That's awesome. Now, my story is a lot different than yours because when this album came out, I was like nowhere near the age to comprehend much, really. It was when, it was actually when they dropped The Negative One is when I started to get into the band. And I was actually the same age, like 16 turning 17 at the time. And I remember, you know, we were hanging out one day, and you showed me the song, and it really grabbed me a lot. You were saying, wow, this is like, because it was brand new. So you were like, wow, this is a really good song. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of like this. So that's when I started kind of climbing into this rabbit hole of Slipknot. And then, you know, I'm like, oh, you're like, oh, let's check out Iowa. And I remember we both, you know, whatever, at our own places, put the album on at the same time, and we were messaging each other. Like, we were practically doing what we normally do
like
for
a listening session. Yeah.
We did a listening session, but we were both in completely different places, just messaging each other as the album went, which, you know, looking back on that, that's just really cool.
Yeah.
And I guess it kind of parallels the way when you first got into the album. I don't know if you intended for me to have the same experience you did.
No,
I guess it just kind of just fell
just
into
worked out that way.
Anyway, it just blew my mind. Like, it was kind of that point where I thought this is the best shit ever.
Yeah.
And then I just started just digging deeper and deeper into this rabbit hole of Slipknot, listening to the stuff all the time. And then Point 5 came out. Like, when I got into them, it was right as Point 5 was coming out. Devil and I came out right as I was getting into them. Then the album, and I'm like, wow, new Slipknot. So it really started to just ramp up and up and up from there. And like, not too long after the album came out, saw them live for the first time. It was an amazing show. Super got into them. I mean, as a bunch of you have probably seen, I bought a lot of the masks as well, still have them, and love them a lot. Like, as you can see from the videos I made myself about that, I was so into this band that I just,
Yeah.
and that still stands today. Like, I'm really happy that they won the tournament personally. I'm sure you are as well. But
I am.
yeah, it was an experience putting on such a masterful album for the first time and hearing it all for the first time. Honestly, it's one of those things that you kind of wish you could experience for the first time again.
Yeah.
You want to have that experience again, you know?
I agree. I think this is a band, it's easy to be infatuated with this band. They got a lot going for them. They're unique and they're interesting. I want to make a little self-correction here because I think I have to watch the video back, but I think I said I saw them on tour during Iowa. I actually didn't. The first time I saw Slipknot was during the Subliminal Verses tour when they released that album. But the reason I get confused sometimes is because Joey did the drum solo with the riser spinning like they did on the Disaster Pieces, which was Iowa era. But yeah, the first time I saw Slipknot, I was front row, waiting in line for hours and hours and hours, very front row. Jim was not there, which was disappointing for me because the first time seeing my favorite band and one of the members wasn't there. Don't know why he wasn't there. I heard rumors of this and that he broke his thumb or something. Don't know if that's true. But they still sounded great. It was awesome. Like I said, Joey did that drum solo. Fucking blew my mind. Yeah, man, just an immaculate experience. Seen them a dozen times since then. Like, easily the best live show, you know, that you could probably go see. I mean, there's a lot of bands that put on really great shows, but Slipknot is definitely like top tier. But
I really wish that I got into them like before, you know, they started losing and changing members, because I would have loved to see that, you know, I guess original 9 lineup live. But the first time I saw them was on Point 5, the Great Chapter Tour, with one of my friends, and you were actually at that same show, but you were on the floor.
Yeah.
I unfortunately wasn't. But I remember the following year when they came back with Marilyn Manson, we both went together, and that was on the floor, and that was fucking wild.
Yeah.
Holy shit. They put on some of the most intense and craziest shows you could imagine.
yeah,
Oh, such amazing stuff.
the energy is just through the roof, skyrocket. There is no roof.
There is no
As soon
room.
as they start playing, the roof is gone, and it's just awesome. The energy they have, they're really tight. The pyrotechnics, the light shows, the stage setup, everything's just really, really cool. Yeah, I can't praise them enough. You mentioned a minute ago, wouldn't it be nice to be able to, you know, hear them for the first time again? And yeah, we can never do that. But I will say it has been a while since I've listened to Iowa. I'm talking like probably a few years, if not more, than that I've actually put on the album and listened to it, other than a track here and there. So, is it going to be a first time listening to it? No, but it's going to be a first time in a long time, which counts for something.
I guess, yeah, maybe that's the closest you can get. I mean, I've put this album on a bunch of times, you know, throughout the years that I've been into this band, but I guess it has been a decent, like, I can't really exactly remember the last time I put it on from start to finish in a while. Of course, I've listened to my favorite tracks, which is almost all of them.
Yeah.
But not just like, okay, I'm gonna sit down in Iowa, you know? It's been a decent bit since I've done that.
Yeah, but just to keep up with tradition for this channel, we're going to actually listen to it for the manyth time in its entirety. We're going to go listen to it right now. And yeah, we're not going to come back and give you guys our opinions on it because we're going to save that for the review next week. So leave your comments down below and let us know your guys' experiences the first time you heard Slipknot, the first time you guys heard Iowa, how you got the album, the whole shebang. We're interested to hear your stories. A lot of cool Slipknot stuff, and we know you guys are fans. Obviously, you guys voted for this band and this album, so sound off down below. That's it for this video, guys. I'm Vile Self.
I'm TV Fish.
Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel and keep those heads banging.